The Prophet Mormon makes his first actual appearance as a young boy in the Mormon Chapter 1 edition of Help Me Understand the Book of Mormon. Welcome to the podcast and to the Facebook Live. If you're on the Facebook Live, I suddenly realized that these annoying little buttons on the side of my collar weren't done. Time to button those up. We are inching closer to the end of the Book of Mormon. Oh my goodness, as we kick off with Mormon Chapter 1. And I'm excited about the next podcast project that I'm working on. So I hope you'll stay tuned as we wrap out Help Me Understand the Book of Mormon. So let's dive right in. Mormon talks about being a young child. In verse 2, at the age of 10, Ammoron, who was the current prophet, comes to him and tells him that he has hid away the plates and that he has deposited them in a place called Shim in verse 3. And he wants him to take the plates. Verse 4, you shall take the plates of Nephi unto yourself, and the remainder shall ye leave in the place where they are. Ye shall engrave on the plates of Nephi all the things that ye have observed concerning this people. Verse 6, I was 11 years old. I was carried away by my father into the land southward, to the land of Zarahemla. The whole face of the land had become covered with buildings. The Nephites began a war in that same year. So at 10 years old, Ammoron comes and tells him, hey, I need you to take care of these plates. At 11 years old, his family moves and a big war starts between the Nephites and the Lamanites. The Nephites win this war in verse 11, and the Lamanites withdrew into their part of the land. And again, we saw in 4th Nephi, the challenges we inch out of the Book of Mormon and wrap this up is there's not a lot of happy, positive, uplifting stories left. End of 3rd Nephi, beginning of 4th Nephi is kind of the end of the positive, uplifting stories. We get some stuff in Ether with the brother of Jared, of some positive, uplifting stuff, but things are just not good. Verse 13, there's so much wickedness. It says that the Lord did take away his beloved disciples. The work of miracles and healing did cease. There were no gifts from the Lord. The Holy Ghost did not come upon any. And so overall, things are not great. Overall, things are not great. But individually for Mormon, I being 15 years of age, somewhat of a sober mind, I was visited of the Lord, tasted and knew of the goodness of Jesus. So, overall, everything around Mormon is in a pretty bad state. I mean, so bad the disciples leave, so bad the Holy Ghost is not able to have an impact on the lives of people because, as it says, they have willfully rebelled against God. The Holy Ghost did not come upon any because of their wickedness and unbelief. The disciples, right? So, as a whole, this is really bad. But for Mormon individually, right, he's still able, despite everything going on around him, to have this individual relationship with God, this individual interaction with God that is important, right? It's important that Mormon has an individual relationship with God. And this is true for all of us. So that independent of anything and everything that goes on around us, we're able to have an independent relationship with God where we can say, I was visited of the Lord and I tasted and knew of the goodness of Jesus. Mormon is a great indicator that it doesn't matter what's going on around us. It really only matters what's going on in us and in our relationship with God. Mormon tries to preach, but he is told not to. In verse 16, they had willfully rebelled against God. The beloved disciples were taken out of the land. I did remain, but was forbidden to preach among them because of the hardness of their hearts. The Gadian robbers come in. They start burying their gold and their silver and their treasures. And there's all sorts of terrible things happening in the Nephite land as we wrap out chapter 1. But, so this will be a recurring theme through the entire Book of Mormon, the small Book of Mormon, and the Book of Moroni, right? Because you've got these two people who we just love and reverence and revere and respect for all that they did. And really in the midst of total and complete wickedness happening around them. But no matter what was happening around them, they stayed true within themselves. They knew who they were, they knew what they were, and they knew who and what God was, and they stayed true to that. And so even though everything is terrible around them, verse 15, I was visited of the Lord and tasted anew of the goodness of Jesus. And my hope is that that's true for all of us, that no matter what's going on around us, that we can be visited of the Lord and taste and know of the goodness of Jesus. I think that's one of the invitations. That's one of the promises of Mormon chapter 1, is that no matter what's going around you, you can individually connect with and feel the peace and the love of God. And hopefully that helps us better understand Mormon chapter 1. Thanks so much for being a part of Help Me Understand the Book of Mormon. I do hope you'll share it, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're listening to the podcast. I hope you'll share it with others. And I hope you'll send me some feedback. My name, Jason Harwood, JasonHarwood, the number 34 at gmail.com, jasonharwood34@gmail.com. Tell me what you're liking about the podcast or things that you think I could or should do differently with the podcast. Let me know. Thanks so much for participating. This is Help Me Understand the Book of Mormon.